My name is Rebecca Martinez. I'm 32 years old, and I thought I knew what family meant. I was wrong. Dead wrong. And it took one Christmas morning for me to realize that the people who raised me had been using me as their personal servant for over 3 decades. Picture this, December 23rd, 2024. I'm standing in my childhood kitchen in suburban Denver, flour still dusting my apron from the morning's baking marathon. My mother, Patricia, glides in wearing her pristine white sweater, the one I'm not allowed to touch because it's too expensive for someone like me to handle. Her perfectly manicured nails tap against the granite countertop that I scrub every single day. "Rebecca, darling," she says, but there's nothing maternal in her voice. It's the tone she uses when she's about to drop another impossible task on my shoulders. "I have wonderful news. Your sister's friends are spending Christmas here. It's only 25 people. Only 25 people." My heart sinks into my stomach like a stone thrown into dark water. "I'll need you to handle everything, of course," she continues, that familiar smirk spreading across her lips like poison ivy. "The cooking, the cleaning, the serving. You know how these things work. Maria's friends are very particular. They expect perfection." She pauses, letting her words sink in like daggers. "Oh, and Rebecca? Make sure you bow when you serve them. It shows proper respect. Bow. Like I'm some kind of medieval servant in my own family home." That's when something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped. Like a rubber band stretched too far, too long. But instead of falling apart, I smiled. I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. "Of course, Mom. I'll take care of everything." But here's what she didn't know. I had already bought a plane ticket to Miami. One way. And I was leaving that very night. Have you ever reached your breaking point with family? Stay with me, this story gets even more shocking. The next morning, Christmas Eve, when those 25 entitled guests arrived expecting a feast and found nothing but empty counters and cold silence, my mother's face turned whiter than fresh snow. But the real surprise? The one that would shake our family to its very foundation? That was still to come. But let me take you back to the beginning, to show you how we got here. Because this story isn't just about one Christmas, it's about 32 years of slowly dying inside while pretending everything was fine. Growing up in the Martinez household meant understanding your place in the hierarchy. At the top, my parents, Patricia and Robert. In the middle, my younger sister Maria, the golden child, the princess who could do no wrong. And at the bottom, so far down I sometimes wondered if I actually existed, me. Maria was born when I was 6, and from the moment she drew her first breath, I became invisible. Not just overlooked, systematically erased. While Maria got dance lessons, piano lessons, and private tutoring, I got a list of chores longer than a grocery receipt. While she got beautiful dresses and trips to Disney World, I got hand-me-downs and the responsibility of watching her while my parents jetted off on romantic getaways. "Rebecca, watch your sister. Rebecca, clean the bathrooms. Rebecca, cook dinner. Rebecca, why can't you be more like Maria?" By the time I turned 18, I had become the family's unpaid live-in help. And the worst part? I thought this was normal. I thought this was love. College was my first taste of freedom, but even then, my parents found ways to keep me tethered. They'd call multiple times a day with emergencies that required me to drive the 3 hours home. Maria needed help with her science project. The house needed deep cleaning before company arrived. They needed someone to house sit while they took Maria on vacation, again. My grades suffered. My friendships suffered. My sanity suffered. When I graduated with a degree in graphic design, I should have moved across the country. Instead, I moved back home temporarily to save money. That was 10 years ago. 10 years of watching Maria live the life I should have had. She went to law school on my parents' dime while I paid rent to live in my childhood bedroom. She got engaged to her college sweetheart in a ceremony that cost more than most people's houses, while I coordinated every detail like an unpaid wedding planner. She bought a beautiful home with her husband while I continued scrubbing floors and doing laundry like Cinderella without the fairy godmother. The final straw came 6 months ago when Maria announced her pregnancy. You'd think the family would be complete with a new baby coming. Instead, it became clear that I was expected to become the live-in nanny too. "Rebecca, you'll help with the baby, won't you?" my mother asked, but it wasn't really a question. "Maria will need support, and you're so good with children." When had I ever been around children long enough to be good with them? I'd been too busy raising Maria. That's when I started making my plan. Quietly. Carefully. Like a prisoner planning an escape. I opened my own bank account, something I'd never done because all my money went into the family fund that somehow only benefited everyone but me. I started freelancing as a graphic designer online, building a client base while everyone thought I was just playing on the computer. I researched apartments in Miami, far enough away that spontaneous guilt trips would be impossible. And I started documenting everything. The documentation was Maria's idea, actually, though she didn't know it. During one of her visits home, she was showing off her new phone and its voice recording feature. "It's amazing what technology can do now," she laughed, playing back a conversation she had with a friend. "You can catch people saying anything. Catch people saying anything." The words echoed in my mind for days. That's when I started recording our family conversations. Not to hurt anyone, at least, not at first. I just wanted proof that I wasn't crazy, that the things happening to me were real. What I discovered was worse than I ever imagined. I caught my mother on the phone with her sister, laughing about how convenient it was to have me around. "She's like having a maid who works for free," she giggled. "Sometimes I wonder what we'd do without our little Rebecca." Little Rebecca. I was 32 years old. I recorded my father explaining to a neighbor why I still lived at home. "She's just not capable of taking care of herself. We're doing her a favor, really. Some people are just meant to serve others." But the worst recording came just 2 weeks before that fateful Christmas conversation. Maria and my mother were planning the holiday party, and I was supposed to be at the grocery store. I came back early and heard them in the living room. "Do you think Rebecca suspects anything?" Maria asked. "Suspects what?" my mother replied. "That we've been keeping her here on purpose. That we never intended for her to have her own life." My mother's laugh was cold as winter wind. "Oh, honey, she's too broken to figure it out. We've been conditioning her since she was a child. She actually believes we love her. What about when I have the baby? Will she figure it out then? Even better. We'll have free childcare and housekeeping for years. And if she ever tries to leave, we'll just remind her how much we need her. Guilt works every time." They laughed together. My mother and sister, laughing about my systematic psychological destruction like it was the funniest joke in the world. That night, I bought my plane ticket to Miami. That night, I decided I was done being their victim. But first, I had one final Christmas gift to give them: the truth. Standing in that Miami hotel room on Christmas Eve, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of orange and pink, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 32 years: peace. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since morning, 17 missed calls from my mother, 12 from Maria, even 3 from my father, who usually couldn't be bothered to remember my name half the time. I let them ring. Instead, I ordered room service, something I'd never done in my life because it was too expensive and wasteful. I took a bath in a tub that wasn't shared with anyone else. I watched whatever I wanted on TV without someone telling me to change the channel. For the first time in my adult life, I was existing purely for myself. But to understand how revolutionary this moment was, you need to know about the invisible chains they'd wrapped around my soul, link by link, year by year. When Maria turned 16, she threw a party that changed everything. Not because of what happened at the party, but because of what happened after. Rebecca, my mother called that Sunday morning, her voice sharp with panic. "We need to talk." I found her in the kitchen, holding a credit card statement like it was contaminated. My father sat at the table, his face red with anger. "Your sister's party cost $8,000, my mother announced. 8,000! The catering, the decorations, the photographer. We're in serious trouble." My stomach dropped. I had worked double shifts at my part-time job to save $3,000 for my senior year of college. I knew what was coming. "We need to borrow your college money," my father said, not meeting my eyes. "Just temporarily. Until we get back on our feet." "But Dad, that's for my tuition." "Rebecca." My mother's voice could have cut glass. "Your sister is applying to law schools. Her future is at stake. You can always go to community college." Community college. After I'd spent 4 years maintaining a 4.0 GPA to earn scholarships to a real university. "We'll pay you back," my father promised, and I wanted to believe him so desperately that I signed over my bank account information that very day. They never paid me back. When I asked about it months later, my mother looked confused. "What money?" "Oh, that wasn't a loan, sweetie. That was you contributing to the family. We all have to sacrifice for each other." But somehow, I was the only one doing any sacrificing. The patterns became clearer as I got older, but I was so deep in their manipulation that I couldn't see the forest for the trees. Every time I achieved something, a good grade, a job promotion, a new friendship, something would happen to pull me back into their orbit. When I finally saved enough money to move out at 25, my mother was suddenly diagnosed with a mysterious illness that required round-the-clock care. Funny how she recovered completely the week after I signed another year-long lease on my childhood bedroom. When I started dating David, a kind man who actually treated me like I mattered, my family suddenly needed me for every holiday, every family emergency, every possible occasion. David and I broke up after 6 months because I was never available. "You choose them every single time," he said during our last conversation. "I don't think you even realize you're doing it." He was right. I didn't realize it. That's how good they were. When I got promoted to senior graphic designer at a marketing firm in downtown Denver, my parents threw a party. I was so happy that they were finally proud of me. Until I overheard my mother on the phone with Maria later that night. "Well, now she can contribute more to the household expenses," she was saying. "I'm thinking we'll ask for 60% of her salary instead of 40. She won't need as much spending money now that she's not dating anyone." 60% of my salary. For the privilege of living in my childhood bedroom and working as their unpaid domestic staff. But the cruelest manipulation came when I turned 30. I had been secretly saving money in a coffee can hidden in my closet, just $20 or $40 at a time, whatever I could hide from the household contribution. I had almost $2,000 saved. Enough for a security deposit on a small apartment. I was planning to tell them on my birthday. I had rehearsed the speech 100 times. I love you all, but I need to start my own life now. I need to be independent. Instead, they threw me a surprise party. The first birthday party I'd had since I turned 6. They invited neighbors, family friends, even some coworkers. They decorated the house with balloons and streamers. They bought a beautiful cake with my name spelled out in pink frosting. I cried from happiness. Finally, they saw me. They valued me. They loved me. The next morning, my mother sat me down with a cup of coffee and a sad smile. "Rebecca, honey, we need to talk about something difficult." My heart sank. "Here it comes. Your father and I are getting older. We need more help around the house. And with Maria starting her family soon, we were thinking maybe you could take over more of the responsibilities? We'd hate for you to move out right when we need you most." She paused, studying my face. "Besides, where would you go? You've never lived alone. You wouldn't know how to take care of yourself. At least here, you have family who loves you." The coffee can with my secret savings went to pay for Maria's law school textbooks that week. Family emergency, they called it. I was 32 years old, and I had never lived anywhere but my childhood bedroom. I had never made a major decision without their approval. I had never even bought groceries without asking permission first. Until that day I booked a flight to Miami and decided to save myself. My phone rang again. This time it was Maria, so I answered. "Rebecca, where the hell are you?" Her voice was shrill with panic. "Mom is having a breakdown. There are 25 people here and no food. The house is a disaster. How could you do this to us? How could I do this to you?" I repeated, looking out at the ocean. "Maria, I've been doing everything for all of you for 32 years. That's different. We're family. Family helps each other. When have you ever helped me?" Silence. Long, telling silence. We. "Rebecca, this isn't the time for this conversation. You need to come home right now and fix this mess." No. The word felt foreign on my tongue. I'd said it so rarely in my life that it almost didn't sound like my voice. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no. I'm not coming home. I'm not fixing your mess. I'm done. You can't be serious. What about Mom and Dad? What about me? What about the baby? What about me, Maria?" My voice was stronger now, filled with 32 years of suppressed anger. "What about what I want? What about my life?" "Your life? Rebecca, your life is with us. You don't know how to live without us." And there it was. The truth they'd been drilling into my head since childhood. The lie I'd finally stopped believing. "Watch me," I said, and hung up. But as I sat there in that beautiful hotel room, watching the waves crash against the shore, I knew the hardest part wasn't leaving. The hardest part was what came next, building a life from scratch when you've never been allowed to make your own choices. The hardest part was learning who Rebecca Martinez actually was underneath 32 years of conditioning. And the hardest part was preparing for their next move, because I knew they wouldn't let me go without a fight. The attack came at 6 a.m. the next morning, Christmas Day. Not with phone calls this time, but with something much more vicious: public humiliation. I woke up to 17 notifications on my social media. My first instinct was to ignore them. I rarely checked Facebook or Instagram anyway. But something made me look. Maria had posted a long, heartbreaking message on her Facebook page, tagged with every family member, family friend, and mutual acquaintance we'd ever had. My heart is breaking this Christmas morning. My sister Rebecca abandoned our family yesterday, leaving us with 25 guests and no food or preparation. My poor mother, who has given Rebecca nothing but love and support for 32 years, is devastated. Mom has been crying all night, wondering what she did wrong. We've always treated Rebecca like a princess, helping her financially and emotionally because she's never been able to live independently. We never asked for anything in return except love and loyalty. I'm pregnant and was counting on my big sister to help me through this scary time. Instead, she chose to run away to Miami. Yes, she posted it on Instagram, rather than help her family in our time of need. Please keep us in your prayers as we try to heal from this betrayal. #FamilyFirst, #heartbroken, #abandoned. The post had 47 likes and 23 comments. All sympathetic. All condemning me. Rebecca always seemed selfish to me. Aunt Linda. Your poor mother. How ungrateful can a person be? Mrs. Johnson from next door. Prayers for your family, Maria. Blood is thicker than water. Cousin Jennifer. My hands were shaking as I read through them. Each comment felt like a physical blow. These were people who had known me my entire life, and they were all buying into Maria's narrative without question. But then I remembered I had evidence. Months of recordings. Screenshots of text messages. Documentation of years of psychological abuse. If they wanted to play this game, I was finally ready to win. The turning point had come 3 months earlier, during what I now call the Thanksgiving incident. It was the moment I realized they weren't just using me, they were actively sabotaging any chance I had at independence. I had been secretly working with a therapist I found online, Dr. Sarah Chin. She specialized in family trauma and narcissistic abuse. I paid for our sessions with gift cards I bought with cash, hiding them like contraband. Rebecca, she said during our 6th session, what you're describing isn't just neglect. It's systematic psychological conditioning designed to keep you dependent. Have you ever considered that this might be intentional? Intentional? But they're my family. Why would they want to hurt me? Control. Free labor. Narcissistic supply. There are many reasons why family systems can become toxic. The question is, what are you going to do about it? That's when she suggested I start documenting everything. Not to hurt them, she explained, but to help you see the patterns clearly. Sometimes we need external proof to trust our own experiences. The Thanksgiving recordings were the most damning of all. I had hidden my phone on the kitchen counter while I prepared the entire meal, a feast for 14 people. My parents and Maria were in the living room, and they thought I couldn't hear them over the noise of cooking. She's getting too confident, my mother was saying. Did you see how she talked back to me yesterday when I asked her to reorganize the garage? Maybe we've been too easy on her, my father replied. She's 32 and still acts like a teenager sometimes. The problem, Maria's voice chimed in, is that she's starting to think she has options. We need to remind her that she doesn't. How do we do that? My mother asked. Easy. Every time she gets too independent, we create a crisis. Remember when she tried to move out at 25? Suddenly mom needed surgery. When she started dating that guy David? Suddenly I needed help planning my wedding every weekend. That was brilliant, my father said, and I could hear the approval in his voice. She chose us every time. Because we made her feel guilty for even wanting her own life, Maria continued. The key is to make her think that having personal desires makes her selfish. That way, she'll always choose us over herself. My mother laughed, actually laughed. Poor Rebecca. She thinks this is normal family love. Should we tell her about the therapy thing? Maria asked casually. My blood turned to ice. They knew about Dr. Chen? What therapy thing? My father asked. I saw a charge on her credit card statement. Some online therapist. Dr. Sarah something. She thinks she's being sneaky. Well, my mother's voice turned cold. I suppose we'll need to handle that too. Can't have her getting ideas above her station. They knew. They knew about the one thing in my life that was helping me see clearly, and they were planning to destroy it. That night, I called Dr. Chen and told her everything. Rebecca, what they're doing is called isolation. They're systematically cutting off your access to outside perspectives that might help you recognize the abuse. This is very serious. What do I do? You have two choices. You can confront them with evidence and try to set boundaries within the existing relationship. Or you can make a plan to leave entirely. Leave? But where would I go? I don't have any money, any friends outside the family, any. Rebecca, stop. Listen to yourself. A 32-year-old intelligent woman with a college degree and a job has no options? Does that sound logical to you? It didn't. For the first time in my life, it didn't sound logical at all. They've convinced you that you're helpless so you won't realize you have all the power. You're an adult. You can leave whenever you want. That's when I started planning my escape in earnest. But back to Christmas morning in Miami, staring at Maria's Facebook post. I could either let them control the narrative, or I could tell my own story. I opened my laptop and began typing. Since my family has decided to air our private business publicly, I feel I need to set the record straight. For 32 years, I have been the unpaid housekeeper, cook, and servant for my family. I have paid rent to live in my childhood bedroom while working full-time and handling all domestic duties. I have given thousands of dollars of my own money to fund my sister's education and lifestyle while being told I'm not capable of independence. Yesterday, when my mother told me to cook for 25 people and bow while serving them, I realized I was done being treated like hired help in my own family. I didn't abandon anyone, I finally chose myself. And I have months of recorded conversations that prove everything I'm saying is true. I hesitated for a moment, finger hovering over the post button. Once I shared this, there would be no going back. They would never forgive me for exposing them publicly. But then I thought about Maria's life-filled post, about all those people who believed I was the villain in this story, about 32 years of being erased and diminished and treated like I didn't matter. I hit post and attached 3 audio files. The response was immediate and explosive. Within an hour, I had dozens of comments, but this time, they were different. Oh my God, Rebecca. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Sarah, my former coworker. Those recordings, your family sounds absolutely toxic. Good for you for getting out. Jessica, a high school acquaintance. This is heartbreaking. No one should be treated this way by their own family. David, my ex-boyfriend. But the most important comment came from someone I didn't expect. Rebecca, this is Dr. Martinez from Denver General Hospital. I'm Maria's supervisor. Can you please call me? This situation may be more serious than you realize. Dr. Martinez? Why would Maria's supervisor be commenting on my post? My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize with a Colorado area code. Rebecca? This is Dr. Patricia Martinez. Yes, I know. Confusing name considering your mother. I work with your sister at the hospital. Okay, I said cautiously. I saw your post and listened to those recordings. Rebecca, I need to tell you something that your family has been hiding from you. Something that changes everything. My heart started racing. What do you mean? Your sister Maria isn't pregnant. She never has been. She was fired from the hospital 3 months ago for falsifying patient records. She's been lying to your family about everything, the pregnancy, the job, probably more. The hotel room started spinning around me. That's impossible. I've seen her at family dinners. She talks about work all the time. She shows us ultrasound photos. Stock photos. Anyone can find them online. Rebecca, your sister has been running an elaborate con, and I think she's been using you as her safety net. When everything falls apart, and it will, she needs someone to blame and someone to take care of her financially. I sank onto the bed, my mind racing. Why are you telling me this? Because I've seen what she's capable of. And because after listening to those recordings, I think you need to know that the manipulation goes even deeper than you realize. There's something else, Rebecca. Something about your parents' finances that you should know. What? They're broke. Have been for years. The house, the cars, Maria's law school, it's all been financed by credit cards and loans. They've been using your money not for luxuries, but to avoid bankruptcy. The room went silent except for the sound of waves outside and my own thundering heartbeat. Rebecca? Are you still there? I'm here, I whispered. Dr. Martinez, how bad is it? Bad enough that when the truth comes out, they're going to need you more than ever. Bad enough that they'll do anything to get you back home. Bad enough that you need to be very, very careful about what you do next. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from my father, the first direct communication from him in months. Rebecca, come home immediately. Your mother is in the hospital. She collapsed when she saw your post. The doctors say it's her heart. She's asking for you. Don't let our family fall apart over a silly misunderstanding. Another manipulation. Another crisis designed to pull me back into their orbit. But this time, I knew it was a trap. This time, I was ready to fight back. Three months later, I stood in my new apartment in Miami Beach, looking at the acceptance letter in my hands. The graphic design firm I'd been freelancing for wanted to hire me full-time. Health insurance, paid vacation, a salary that would let me live comfortably without depending on anyone else. But getting here had been the hardest battle of my life. That Christmas Day phone call with Dr. Martinez had been the beginning of the end and the beginning of my real life. After we hung up, I sat in that hotel room and made a list of every lie, every manipulation, every financial transaction I could remember. The picture that emerged was devastating. My parents weren't just broke, they were drowning in debt. The family fund I'd been contributing to for years hadn't been going toward household expenses. It had been paying minimum payments on credit cards they'd maxed out funding Maria's lifestyle and their own desperate attempts to keep up appearances. My mother's mysterious illness when I tried to move out at 25. The same week she charged $8,000 in home renovations to make the house look more impressive for Maria's law school friends. My father's insistence that I wasn't capable of living alone. He'd been using my credit history to co-sign loans. My good credit was the only thing keeping them afloat. Maria's pregnancy? A lie designed to guarantee I'd never leave. They needed a long-term reason to keep me as live-in help. But the cruelest discovery came when I called my old bank to check my account history. Remember that $3,000 they borrowed for Maria's party when she turned 16? The money they promised to pay back? They'd been taking money from my account for years. Small amounts, 50 here, 100 there, using an old debit card they'd claimed was lost. 16 years of theft, totaling over $30,000. I had been funding my own psychological imprisonment. The war escalated quickly after I posted those recordings. Within hours of Dr. Martinez's revelations, I received a barrage of messages from flying monkeys, family friends and relatives enlisted to guilt me into returning home. Your mother is devastated. How can you be so cruel? Aunt Linda. Family is forever, Rebecca. Forgive and forget. Cousin Jennifer. You're breaking your father's heart. He raised you better than this. Family friend Robert. But the most vicious attacks came from Maria herself. When public shame didn't work, she switched to private threats. You've ruined everything, Rebecca. Mom and Dad trusted you, and you stabbed them in the back. When this all falls apart, their blood is on your hands. You think you're so smart with your little recordings? You have no idea what I'm capable of. Come home now or you'll regret it. I know where you work. I know where you're staying. You can't hide from family forever. I screenshot every message and forwarded them to Dr. Chin, who had become not just my therapist but my lifeline during this process. Rebecca, this is escalation, she warned during our emergency video session. When people lose control over their primary victim, they often become dangerous. You need to take these threats seriously. Dangerous? They're my family. They're the people who systematically destroyed your sense of self for 3 decades. That level of psychological abuse doesn't happen by accident, and it doesn't stop just because you've escaped. She was right to be concerned. On December 30th, 5 days after I'd posted the truth, Maria showed up at my old workplace in Denver. My former supervisor, Janet, called me immediately. Rebecca, your sister is here demanding your new address and phone number. She's claiming there's a family emergency, but she seems unhinged. I told her I couldn't give out personal information, and she started screaming about lawsuits and abandonment. Did she leave? Security escorted her out, but Rebecca, she said something strange as she was leaving. She said, "Tell Rebecca that some secrets are worth more than others. She'll understand what that means." I understood exactly what it meant. Maria still had one card left to play, one piece of information she thought would bring me crawling back home. The next morning, I received a text message that made my blood run cold. Did you ever wonder why Mom and Dad adopted you? Did you ever wonder why they never told you the truth about your real parents? Come home, or everyone finds out what we've been protecting you from all these years. Adopted. The word hit me like a physical blow. I had always wondered why I looked nothing like my parents or Maria. Why I had different interests, different personality traits, different everything. But when I'd asked as a child, they'd laughed it off. You're just unique, Rebecca. Our special girl. They'd been lying about that too. The revelation about my adoption should have destroyed me. Instead, it set me free. I hired a private investigator, something I never could have afforded when I was giving 60% of my salary to my parents. Within 2 weeks, she had found my birth records. My name had been Rebecca Johnson. I was born to teenage parents who couldn't care for me and made the difficult decision to place me for adoption. The Martinezes had seemed like the perfect family, stable, loving, financially secure. They'd been lying to the adoption agency too. But here's the thing Maria didn't count on: I didn't care. Learning I wasn't biologically related to them didn't devastate me, it relieved me. It explained everything. It meant that their treatment of me wasn't something wrong with me personally. It was something wrong with them. When I didn't respond to her adoption threat, Maria played her final card. She had my mother call me, sobbing hysterically. "Rebecca, please come home," my mother wailed through the phone. "I'm dying. The stress is killing me. If you don't come back, you'll be responsible for my death." In the background, I could hear Maria coaching her. Tell her about the chest pains. Tell her about the medication. That's when I knew they would never stop. There would always be another crisis, another emergency, another guilt trip designed to drag me back into their dysfunction. So I did something that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. I blocked all their numbers. I deactivated my social media accounts. I changed my phone number and didn't give it to any mutual connections. I went completely no contact, and for the first time in my adult life, the silence was beautiful. Building a life from scratch at 32 was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. I had to learn how to make decisions without asking permission. I had to learn that it was okay to want things for myself. I had to learn that saying no was not selfish, it was survival. Dr. Chen helped me understand that I'd been suffering from complex PTSD, trauma from prolonged psychological abuse. The hypervigilance, the people-pleasing, the inability to trust my own judgment, these weren't character flaws. They were survival mechanisms developed by a child trying to navigate an impossible situation. Recovery wasn't linear. Some days I felt strong and independent. Other days I found myself reaching for my phone to call them, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. The programming ran deep. But slowly, gradually, I began to discover who Rebecca really was underneath all the conditioning. I loved art, not just creating it, but studying it, visiting galleries, losing myself in colors and textures and meanings. In Denver, I'd never had time for hobbies. I loved cooking, but for myself, not for ungrateful people who expected miracles. I learned to make elaborate meals just because I wanted to, not because someone demanded it. I loved solitude, not the lonely isolation I'd felt living with my family, but the peaceful choice to be alone with my thoughts without someone criticizing them. I loved the ocean. Every morning in Miami, I walked along the beach and marveled at the vastness of it, the endless possibilities stretching beyond the horizon. Most importantly, I learned that I was capable of anything. The woman they'd convinced was helpless and dependent had built an entire new life from nothing in 3 months. The final chapter in my family drama came in March, 4 months after I'd left. Dr. Martinez called me with news I'd been expecting but dreading. Rebecca, I thought you should know, your family's house is in foreclosure. And Maria has been arrested for fraud. She'd been forging prescriptions and selling medications. The whole thing has blown.